Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. This is TowerGate day number 1137, 1137, May the 20th, 2020, Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Wednesday, of course. As you know, Wednesday is the day that I take out the trash and have some chicken. Tonight will be no different. and assuming that my trash can does not get washed away down the street, because here in this area where I live, we are currently experiencing a lot of very bad flash flooding. And in fact, I'll spare you, but let's just say I've had some personal experience with flooding, not here in my home, but where I work. We have had a very let's say, difficult couple of days, which leads me to my next point. Before I go into a couple really important breaking news stories of the past 24 hours, I just want to revisit a little bit the video from yesterday. As most of you who watched the video figured out, I was not in a very good mood. And I spent most of the video talking about the comments by Attorney General Barr. Now, let me just kind of give you a little background. Is that, like I said, we've had some flooding where I work, and in addition to a couple other things, creates a lot of problems. So it's been a couple of very challenging days. So I come in from work day before yesterday, and kind of a tough day at work. I come in, I sit down. The first thing I do, I'm just kind of munching out, and I'm going through my typical routine. And I go over to Conservative Treehouse, one of the first sites I looked at that day, and the very first thing I see is this clip of Attorney General Barr. So I play the clip, and I'm like, huh, what did he just say? I played a second time and a third time, and by the time I saw it the third time, I was really pissed, and so I watched it again, and I took a few notes as to exactly what he said. And I was so ticked off at that point that I didn't even go to look at anything else. I mean, that's all that I was focused on, because I was so ticked off about the comments that Attorney General Barr made about the fact that they don't currently have enough evidence at this time to suggest that they need to investigate Biden or Obama, and that they're not under investigation or what have you. And I thought there was a lot of things wrong with that statement. And I didn't go look at any other pundits or YouTubers' opinions of what he said, or try to get any other takes, which I usually try to do. I try to get various takes. I try to get 2 or 3 different sources on the same story to make sure the story's right, or make sure I get all the angles on it. But I really didn't that time. I was pissed off. I didn't look at what anyone else said. I didn't read any other reviews. I didn't look at anything else. I just wrote it down. I went and took a shower, came back and did the video. So after a day of thinking about it, looking at what other people have said, I have come to the conclusion that I am standing with my original comment, that I think it was a stupid thing for Barr to do. I'm not really sure what he was thinking. I'm sure he's not stupid, so he's thinking something. I'm not going to pretend to know what that is, but I just stand by my original comments, that what Barr said in regards to the question he's asked about, Biden and Obama being part of the investigation, or targets, or what have you, of the investigation, subjects of the investigation. We're talking about the Durham investigation, which Trump has been tweeting about. And the comment had to do with, the question was being asked because Trump had tweeted out that Obama, Biden are up to their eyeballs in the Russiagate hoax, which he calls Obamagate. So the reasons why I think that was a horrible comment and a bad comment today are the same that they were right after I read the article. I haven't changed my opinion. I still think the same thing. And I guess the first thing that I thought was, you generally don't see a DOJ or FBI official, when they're asked about an investigation, that they don't comment. They say it's an ongoing investigation. We're not going to comment. If they're asked about specific persons, a person or persons who may be targeted or subjects of an investigation, that they don't answer that question either. But here he does. And he says, so at this time, Obama, Biden are not a target, don't expect to be a target of the investigation. And I guess that rattled me, because there's been so much information come out in the last, it's been coming out for months and months, years actually, but just in the past couple of weeks. I mean, how could they not be, maybe not a target of the investigation, but certainly a subject of the investigation? How can you take that totally off the table with all that we know? and all that we've learned, especially in the last couple of weeks. And for those people out there saying, yeah, but he was just saying that, right now they're not a target because, we haven't found the evidence or whatever, or suspicion that they may have been involved in a crime or something unethical or whatever. This is just insanity. In order for that statement to make sense, you would have to say that in Barr's opinion, at this point, with all he knows, and he knows a lot more than we do, that Obama's not involved in any of this. Biden as well. That they're totally clean. They're not involved at all. This is essentially what he's saying, because he's saying that they're not going to be targeted. They're not being targeted. They're not subjects or whatever. With all that we know, you at that point you have to try to make the argument that Obama did not know about everything that was going on in 2016. That he didn't know about the Steele dossier, that he didn't know about the FISA warrants, that he didn't know about John Brennan's task force, which he had to know because he set up his own task force late summer. Brennan set up his task force late March, early April 2016. Then 3-4 months later, Obama sets up his own task force, and it encompasses Brennan's task force. And he's getting briefings and everything. This was in August. This was in August of 2016. He had to know about the FISA warrants. He had to know about everything. To think that Obama did not know about everything that was going on. And then we know that the ICA was Obama directed Clapper, Brennan, and Comey to do the ICA to justify what would become the impetus, the reason to launch the investigation into Trump, or the Mueller investigation, which was essentially the coup attempt. And to sit back and pretend that Obama, that all this stuff's going on and that he knows nothing about it, is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. So that really bothered me. It's like, well, if we know that he had to know about all these things, and that's not enough evidence that he should be a subject or a person of interest or something like that, certainly you can't take him off the table as if, well, no, we've cleared him. He didn't know about any of this stuff. That's just ridiculous. He had to know about everything that was going on. Had to know. So how you could just, take him out of the equation is just, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's not, it's just not right. Okay? Because that's essentially what Barr would be saying. Unless Barr's saying, oh yeah, Obama knew about everything that was going on, but even though he knew about everything that was going on, and he was a central player in the coup, he's the one that launched the ICA, he's the one who directed it, the whole 9 yards, but still, we don't think that that's enough evidence to suggest that he should be a subject or a target or even be a person of interest in this investigation. Because that's essentially what he's saying in his statement. You see, that's insanity. No one would believe that. So, if that's the case, then what information or evidence would you need? You see, if what you have already isn't enough, then nothing will be enough, okay? So that is why I got set off on that particular point, is it just didn't make any sense to me that you can take someone totally off the table, act as if they are in no way within the circle of players that would have been involved in this type of activity, criminal, unethical, however you want to look at it. Certainly, he had to be right in the middle of all of it. And so, how can you take him off the table? That kind of bothered me. The second thing is, I thought, what must John Durham be thinking here? Because if you're John Durham, that threw a wrench in his spokes, I would think, because as long as you have Obama as a possible target or subject to this investigation, that's a tremendous point of leverage for you. And it also tells the top coup plotters, and we know who they were, the Comeys, the Clappers, Brennans, Bryce, all those people, McCabe. It tells them essentially that they have nothing to worry about. They have nothing to worry about. You've essentially given, by saying this, you've given them their perfect out. You've essentially given them their legal defense. Their get out of jail free card. Not to mention you've taken away the leverage that Durham would have had to use against them. You've taken that away from Durham. Now everyone knows that Obama's not on the table. And what's that mean? Well, that means now that Comey, Clapper, Brennan, all the political appointees in the Obama administration, his National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, his FBI director, his ODNI, his CIA director, all these political appointee top-tier people who were the people who were running the show, running the crime. All these people simply now, all they have to do is walk in with their lawyer, sit down with Durham's investigators, and the lawyer will go, okay, well, at this point, let me tell you it is, my client did not do anything wrong. He did not violate the law, because he was acting with the full knowledge and consent of the President of the United States. They might even go as far as to say, in the terms of the the intelligence assessment, that they might even say in that case that it was directed by Obama, because they've said it on TV. Clapper and Brennan, man, we ought to thank Obama for the Russia investigation. Without him, it wouldn't have happened, because he's the one that told us to do the ICA. He's the one that directed us to do it. So now, all these top-tier guys, their lawyers can simply look at Durham's people and go, well, you know, my clients were just acting on the direction of the President. The President had his full knowledge and consent to what they were doing. And in fact, in the case of the ICA, he directed that, you know, which is what led to the Mueller investigation and everything that followed. So, and if you call my client in front of a grand jury, this is what my client is going to tell the grand jury, that they were acting under the direction of the President of the United States, who had full knowledge and consent, possibly even had directed this. And of course, we've already determined that Barr says that these people are off the table. They're off the table at this point. So, it's a way for McCabe and Comey and Clapper. He's just given them their legal defense. The President directed it. What are you going to do about that? Because I'm going to go in front of a grand jury and say it. Now, if you don't want to bring the President into this, don't put me in front of a grand jury. Because if you do, this is what I'm going to say. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that if you're Brennan or Clapper or Comey or these guys. You've already been told that the person who was above you, the President, knew about what you were doing, consented to what you were doing, may have even directed what you were doing. And you've already been told that they're not going to go after that person. Well, if they're not going to go after that person, they're certainly not going to go after the people who are going to sit in front of a grand jury and say, yeah, the guy that you're not going to go after is the guy who told me to do everything. I mean, you can't indict Brennan, Comey, Clapper, and all the rest and not indict Obama if, in fact, Obama had the knowledge of what they were doing, had consented to what they were doing, or had directed what they were doing. You've essentially given them a get-out-of-jail-free card and a perfect legal alibi. And the President directed me to do it, therefore it's not illegal. I mean, we saw this in the Watergate defense. So, you put him in front of a jury in Washington, D.C., good luck. And so, I continue to believe that was a mistake by Attorney General Barr. And I told you yesterday what he should have said. I'm not going to comment. Barack Obama and Biden, it's an ongoing investigation. I cannot comment. We're still investigating. We don't know. He could have said we don't know. And he doesn't know. Because what's he going to do? Walk it back? What? Some people think that 6 months from now, or after the elections, he'll come out and say, oh, well, now we've got more information, so now Obama and Biden are a target. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, I got the message. The message I got was Barr was saying, we're not going to go for Obama. Well, if you're not going to go for Obama, and he's the guy who was directing, had knowledge of, and gave consent to the people who are, doing all the busy stuff, you can't get any of them guys either. You're taking them off the table as well. And that's how it looks to me. Now, I could be wrong, but this is how it looks to me. And this is why I made those comments. And I stand by them. Okay, so now let's go on to some incredible breaking news in the last 24 hours. Some very damaging news to the Obama administration, who doesn't have to worry about being prosecuted despite all that. Let's go ahead and go through it. So first, let's start with this release of this audio tape, which came from some group named the Creative Destruction Media, and I believe this was presented to some authorities in the Ukraine, is where this is coming out of, from the Ukraine. And basically, it's an audio, I wouldn't think it's a tape, but it's an audio of Biden and Poroshenko, the Ukrainian PM at that time, discussing the firing of Viktor Shokin. And the date appears to be about a week before Shokin was fired. And in that conversation, Biden mentions Trump and his concerns that Trump will come into office and he'll want to do something with Ukraine and find out about everything that was corrupt that was going on with Ukraine. And Biden doesn't spell it out in so many words, but this is obviously what he's referring to. It shows without a doubt, without any doubt whatsoever, clear quid pro quo. I mean, it's literally right there. I mean, it's Biden saying, here's what you need to do. And then after it's done, then Biden saying, congratulations, good job. Now you get the money. And we'll let you decide how you want to have the money delivered to you. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It is as smoking gun as you can get. It is every bit as smoking gun as you can. Remember, the whole Ukraine hoax thing to impeach Trump was based on Trump doing a quid pro quo. Well, here you have absolutely zero doubt of quid pro quo in this conversation between Biden and Poroshenko. I mean, it is as clear as it could possibly be. No one in the right mind could read it and conclude anything different. Basically, Biden saying, fire Shokin if you want the money. And then once Shokin's fired, he makes arrangements for how to give him the money. And Biden also expresses his concerns that Trump's going to become president and that he's going to try to, do something for Ukraine in the sense of loans or something like that. And he, during that process, he is going to learn about certain things. And Biden doesn't want all this coming out. And he's talking about his son and his involvement and Biden's involvement personally in the whole thing. So this information, as I understand from the article, is being provided to people in the Ukraine who are investigating what happened there. Now, certainly, this thing that's going to happen in the Senate with Ron Johnson's committee, which is looking into all things Ukraine, Biden, Burisma, Hunter Biden, which hearings are supposed to be in June. Certainly, he's looking at this now, and the only thing he's going to do is he has to verify and make sure that this audio is actually authentic, that it is legit. And if it turns out to be, and again, this is being presented to authorities in the Ukraine, so we can assume it's legit. And if it is, then certainly Ron Johnson is going to have this information. Now it'll even fall into Lindsey Graham's little investigation that he's going to be doing as well. And he's now talking about looking into this and also bringing in Biden. And now Ron Johnson with this audio now, where before he wasn't 100% sure. It was like 50-50. Will we bring in Biden? No, I don't know. We'll have to, we're going to have our hearings and see where it leads us. And maybe we'll need to bring in Biden. Maybe Joe or Hunter Biden. Maybe both. Well, now this removes any doubt that in those hearings, whether it's Graham's hearings or Johnson's hearings, that this is going to come into play. I mean, this is the smoking gun. And this is obviously going to come into play in both of those hearings. And so this would certainly lead one to believe that with this audio, if it turns out to be legit, pristine, what have you, absolutely you're going to have Biden and Joe Biden and Hunter Biden both called into at least Johnson's committee and to explain this. And there is no explanation for it. It's straight up quid pro quo. It's not even close. So this could turn out to be extremely damning. Extremely damning. Now, the fallout from this hasn't fully played itself out. It's going to take a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two, for this audio to be authenticated. It'll be in the news. It'll be authenticated likely in a week or less, maybe something like that. And certainly, people following this story are going to be all over it. We can assume that the left-wing media is going to do what they normally do, which is try to spin out of it. But there's no way to spin out of this. Once people start hearing this audio, and they will start hearing this audio, it's going to be hard for the left-wing media to spin this. And it's probably going to give a lot of those on the Democrat side who really are not happy, which is about 40% of the Democratic Party, not happy with Joe Biden being the nominee. This is very likely going to move that bar a little farther for Democrats who say, no, we just can't go with Biden. I mean, this audio tape is damning. It is absolutely damning. And it's insanity, because Trump was impeached over quid pro quo with Ukraine, when here you actually have the proof that Biden was the one engaged in the quid pro quo, and it's his kid who is benefiting from it. And I'm sure you'll find that Biden himself or other friends of his, family members, got some sort of kickbacks as well. There's a lot to be uncovered here, and it's all being investigated in Ukraine as we speak. And now Johnson's committee is going to be specifically looking at this. It's going to come into play in Graham's hearings as well. Ukraine is a part of all that as well. So this, I think, is going to turn out to be very, very damning. And we don't have the full fallout from it because it's still relatively new, and the audio has not been, proven to be 100%, legit. It's likely that it is, but it'll have to be confirmed. But once it is, then I'm not sure how Biden spins out of that one. And it clearly, I mean, if this doesn't cause Barr to open an investigation into Biden and what was going on there, or if this doesn't fall into Durham's purview, then nothing will. I mean, it doesn't get any more smoking gun. And this will tell you, if the DOJ doesn't move on this, or if they don't appoint a special counsel to look into it or something, if they don't do something, they can't just let this ride. If this audio tape is legit, and they do nothing, then you'll know the fix is in, that there's nothing's going to happen to Biden. But this is, I don't know how it could be any more damaging if this is legit. And I think it is. Well, Richard Grennell just continues to do an incredible job. I kind of will miss him when he's gone, although I think Ratcliffe will do equally well. But certainly they're going to have to find a place for Rick Grennell. Once Ratcliffe takes over, they've got to find a place to keep Grennell in action, because this guy flat out kicks ass. He kicks ass, and he's quick. So, as you know, there's been calls from Grassley and Johnson the last 2 or 3 days to release the Susan Rice letter, the Cover Your Ass letter. And yesterday, Grennell does it. Releases the whole letter, including the previously redacted part. And now we know why it was redacted. Because it's very, very damaging to Obama, Rice, and Comey. So this Cover Your Ass letter, basically what you see here is you have, particularly, I think she's, at this point in the letter, she's talking about when everyone was asked to leave the room except for, I guess it was Comey, Rice, Yates, Obama are there in their meeting. And this is the January 5th meeting that everybody talks about. And in this, letter, particularly the part that was redacted, we now know that what's going on here is that Comey was telling Obama and Rice that Michael Flynn may be compromised by Russia, and that they may not want to give him sensitive information related to Russia. And that's where Obama and Rice would come into play. Comey's essentially telling Obama, with Rice sitting there, that you probably don't want to give Trump any really serious classified and secret information about Russia, because he might be compromised. It shows also here that Obama and Rice did know about the investigation into Flynn, which was unlawful. And up until now, Rice has said, "Oh, we didn't know about this investigation into Flynn. We didn't know about any of this." Well, clearly, when you look at this letter, it's obvious she's lying. Clearly, she knew. And now we know that Obama knew. And how do we know that? Because we know that Clapper, 2 days before this meeting, Clapper went and told Obama about the information he got from the FBI, from Comey, about the Flynn Kislyak phone call. So Obama was clued in on it 2 days earlier by Clapper. So now here is Obama personally briefing Rice and Obama on this issue about Flynn maybe being compromised and not wanting to give him too much information. And of course, the way that they're discussing is it's pretty clear, pretty obvious that Rice and Obama already knew that Flynn was under investigation. And I think we all knew that. It's just we didn't have any proof, and now we do. And remember, this is an unlawful investigation. It's not legal what they're doing. That's why she had to write the cover your ass letter. And why would you have to write a letter saying that Obama said to do it by the book? Why would he have to tell the FBI director to do it by the book? Wouldn't you assume that the FBI already does it by the book? You would only have to tell them to do it by the book if you're assuming that they don't do it by the book. So this doesn't help her, in my opinion. So the cover your ass letter was to make it look like they did not know until Comey briefed them. But of course, we know that that's not true because we actually know that Clapper did brief Obama on this and likely Rice as well. Now, that is why they needed the cover your ass letter. And of course, as I said, the Clapper briefing was 2 days prior to the January 5th meeting, and that's why we know that they knew. And of course, Clapper got the information from Brennan. And this doesn't mean that this is absolutely the first time that Obama or Rice, had been briefed on any of this. This is just the only evidence we have that they were briefed on this. And we can tell from the letter that they already knew that there was an investigation going on. But there's probably other documents out there that we don't have, that Barr or Durham may or may not have, that might show more evidence that they knew even earlier. I mean, we're going to get to that in just a minute, but anyway, it's fairly damaging, and now we know why they redacted and blacked out that whole second paragraph. It's pretty clear why they blacked out the paragraph. They were trying to protect Obama and Rice, and they were trying to protect Comey. And now, as I said, the cat's out of the bag. And again, they're caught in another lie. They clearly knew, they were clearly involved, and we know what they were plotting. Literally saying, we're not going to give the incoming National Security Advisor sensitive information about Russia because we can't trust him. He may be compromised. When in fact, there is no reason for them to have those suspicions. All the so-called evidence that would, justify that is bullshit that they manufactured. I mean, it's crazy, but this is exactly what's there. It's so damning. And probably the most damning thing for Comey in all this is it clearly shows that Jimmy the Weasel Comey was clearly monitoring, surveilling, spying on Michael Flynn. He could no longer make the argument that he was out of the loop, that he really didn't know. No. When you read through that letter, and especially that second paragraph, especially the redacted part, it's obviously clear two things. Obama and Rice knew about the investigation, and Comey was already actively involved in spying on Michael Flynn. They can no longer, and keep in mind, they've withheld this information for so long. And why would they do that? That's covering up. I mean, there was nothing national security related here, classified, that needed to be redacted. It was redacted only because it was damning to Comey, Rice, and Obama. That's the only reason it was redacted, which is true of almost all this stuff that we're getting. So it's just another bad day for the deep state. Again, this is why I'm so unnerved by Barr saying that, Obama and Biden are not targets or subjects of the investigation, are not being investigated. They don't anticipate blah, 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 blah. I mean, how can you take those guys off the table? And didn't Barr and Durham have this information before? That's what bothers me about this. This is what bothers me about this. It's not that Barr doesn't have the evidence to suggest Obama or Biden might have been involved in things. He absolutely does have the evidence. There's no question. That's what bothers me. If he really didn't have any evidence, and I could say, okay, he doesn't really have any evidence, but he does. Tons of it. That's what should bother us. So, John Ratcliffe, was confirmed by the subcommittee in the Senate yesterday. Now he'll go to a full vote in the Senate, and I'm sure he'll be voted. Not that they like Ratcliffe at all, because they don't. But look at what Grennell's doing. They'll do anything to get Grennell out of there. Maybe that's why he's doing it. Maybe Trump said, "Yeah, man, I want you to go ahead and just go hog wild over there. I want my guy Ratcliffe in there." And the best way to get him there is for you to get in there and wreak as much havoc as possible. They'll be begging for John Ratcliffe, and that's exactly what probably the situation is tomorrow when they have that vote. They'll be Democrats. Oh God, yes, please give us Ratcliffe. Get Grennell, anything. Get Grennell out of there. Now, I don't think they're going to do much better with Ratcliffe. I mean, I think Ratcliffe is essentially going to be doing the same, and I just hope that they find a place to continue having Grennell in there, because this dude is absolutely kick-ass. So yes, we want Rick Grennell. Even if Ratcliffe's going to take that OD&I position, the regular position, got to keep Grennell around. He's just too good. Don't want to lose him. But yeah, I expect that Ratcliffe will be confirmed as soon as the Senate has the vote in the full body. Now, we also get another whistleblower story that's coming out, and this is a real whistleblower story, and this, again, is very, very damning, and this is information, again, you talk about a cover-up and a whistleblower. Well, here's a whistleblower who attempted to blow the whistle, but an Obama administration Inspector General of the Treasury Department covered it up. So let's just go through the particulars here in the few minutes we have left. We had a whistleblower, and this person, I understand, was a contractor, like a CIA contract person, and they also had an associate contract person working for the CIA who confirms what the original whistleblower is saying. So this whistleblower is saying that they identified that the Department of Treasury under Obama had regular surveillance on Michael Flynn's financial records and transactions. And this Inspector General of the Treasury covered it up. And this story was actually broken in like a local paper, the Ohio Star, by a journalist named Neil McCabe. And we find out that this Department of Treasury surveillance of Flynn's financial records and transactions goes back to 2015, and it went well into 2017. This whistleblower comes out of the intel community, we assume CIA, and this whistleblower had noticed from the metadata that there was, things going on that shouldn't be going on. Just exactly what happened with the case with the audit and the NSA with Mike Rogers, NSA director's guy there, noticing things going on that shouldn't have been. And it wasn't just Michael Flynn. No, not just Michael Flynn, by this Department of the Treasury people. It was contractors working for the Department of the Treasury. It was also Manafort. It was also members of Congress. It was also the most senior members of the Trump campaign and Trump's family, all being spied on, essentially, by these contractors working under the Department of the Treasury. And they essentially, what they were doing is they were taking classified data, information from classified databases, and then moving it over to databases where there was unclassified information, and then they were sharing it with everybody. And these searches, according to this whistleblower, were purely political. They had nothing to do with national security. This whistleblower first filed a complaint in August of 2016, a general complaint with the Inspector General, then followed up again in 2017 and filed a full lengthy complaint with a lot of detail with the Inspector General at the Treasury under Obama. His name is Richard Delmar, and this guy is still holding that office today, believe it or not. Well, my guess is he won't be for much longer. Then this whistleblower also filed a complaint with the Office of Special Counsel in May of 2017. Now, this has nothing to do with the Mueller or anything else. This is a special counsel which is set up for whistleblowers. So she even filed, or this person even filed, the third time they filed a report. It was with this office that deals specifically with whistleblowers. That was in May of 2017 when a lot of things were going on. And this spying was not authorized by the Department of Justice, and it was done completely off the books, according to this whistleblower. So this is, of course, very damning. Again, it just shows the detail and the length of the surveillance and the spying that went on. And remember, this is within the Department of the Treasury, and now we know why we saw all them Treasury officials unmasking Flynn.